Hey guys, I hope you have had a really good weekend. I thought it'd be helpful to go ahead and read through this list of vocab words. Some of them are a little tricky um, and can be difficult to pronounce, so I'm going to go ahead and read through those. Remember, these are SAT words too, so they are designed to help you, okay? So just pay attention. Our first noun is a virtuoso, which is a highly skilled performer. You can think of acrobats or anyone who works at the circus as virtuosos. So as Meatloaf yelled eloquently from the top of the oak tree, Dad observed, we have a true feline virtuoso. Now if only she were virtuoso at climbing, she could get herself down from there. So whenever you think virtuoso, think of skilled, highly skilled performer. Our next noun is temerity, unwise boldness, rash, or reckless behavior. This literally describes my dog all the time. Meatloaf showed unusual temerity in scaling that oak. Remy, of course, is forever hurtling into danger with a temerity that would never occur to a more sensible dog. He's the kind of dog that runs after cats in the middle of the street. He has no cares. So, unwise boldness or reckless behavior. Remember, hopefully you guys are writing down these examples too. They could help you out later on. Volition, use of your own will or by your own choice. Animals were once viewed as beings of instinct only with no powers of volition. Now we know that animals act on their own volition fairly often. Own will, own choice. This is an old word, torpor. So sluggish, lethargy, inability to think or act quickly. This also describes Remy right now. He was at my father-in-law and mother-in-law's house this weekend in the mountains, and so he is done. He is so tired. And so to be absolutely pooped is to feel torpor. I was in a totally torpid state once after a grueling wrestling match. Just kidding. I've never wrestled. Our next noun is a quandary, and sometimes that A and R will blend together and you'll hear people pronounce it like a quandary, but it's a quandary. And so when you think quandary, you can think question, a feeling of puzzlement or doubt. So choosing a college is a perplexing process that has most of us in a state of quandary. Our next noun is trepidation or fear. Typically, you will see those words together. Fear, worry, or apprehension. I keep seeing the phrase in fear and trepidation, which seems repetitious because trepidation often means fear. Trepidation is just a really strong word for fear. Our next noun is zenith, the biggest point or acme, point of culmination. If you're thinking of this in terms to literature, typically the zenith would be like the climax or the highest point of interest in the story. This can also be used for physical forces of nature as well, if you're going hiking, if you're on a mountain. Although the zenith means the highest point in the sky above us, I more often hear it used in phrases like, when his powers were at their zenith, or at the zenith of her career. So the highest or biggest point. Reticence, quietness and restraint and personality. So other adjectives that you will need to write down would be reticent, silent, restrained, or reserved. You can think back to introverts at the beginning of the semester, people that maybe filter in their heads before they speak. They would be reticent. President Calvin Coolidge, a silent, restrained New Englander, was famous for his reticence. Our next noun is respite. It's easy to read this word like respite, but that's not the proper pronunciation. It is a respite. And when you think respite, you should think rest to help you remember for this one. So it's a time of relief from activity, a rest, or a pause, or a lull, a water break. Thanksgiving weekend came as a welcome respite after a crazy autumn. Parsimony. Parsimony is extreme stinginess, thrift, or penny pinching, like to the extreme. So, as all of Dickens' readers know, the character Ebenezer Scrooge is synonymous with parsimony. Nostalgia. Nostalgia is a sentimental longing for a pastime or state. An adjective form of this is nostalgic. You guys are probably familiar with this word. Really means to look back on a situation with feelings of not just like longing, but usually those are positive feelings as well. Like when you're thinking back to middle school, I don't know, for most of us, those are probably not nostalgic feelings because middle school is not the best time ever. But if you're thinking back to like good, happy childhood memories, those could be like nostalgic. So my grandparents are typically nostalgic pair who always tell the same stories about my dad as a kid. Predecessor is an ancestor or a prior person in a position. So my predecessor on the newspaper was an editor who turned the various staff members into close family of co-workers. You guys have probably heard this word before. Someone who comes before. And finally, our stems. Our first stem is arch or arc. That's the chief or main ruler. So that's how we would use that stem to define our words. Like a hierarchy is a series arranged by rank or grade, by like who's in charge. So at the top of a hierarchy. An anarchy is a lack of government or a lack of chief or ruler. So anarchy in the ranks. Make sure you're writing down both of those words as examples to help you study to put them on your quiz. Also, we have a patriarch, matriarch, monarch, and architect. And then finally, for our last stem, we have lu or luce, which means light. Lucid is clear and distinct. It's easy to see because of the light. It's sensible. It's intelligent. To elucidate means to explain fully and clearly. So to elucidate his problem, please. Also, you can use lucidity, translucent, and luminous. And that's it, folks. That's all your words. Make sure you're taking good notes.